Warning! This show isn't for the fragile or the faint of heart. If you came looking for safe spaces, trigger warnings, or late-night monologues spoon-fed by corporate media, you're in the wrong place. Here, we stir the pot, we challenge the spin, and sometimes, we ruffle feathers. Consider this your only warning.
Jimmy Kimmel built a career out of mocking conservatives, shaming anyone who didn't fall in line with Hollywood's narrative, and cheering when cancel culture came for people on the right. But let's not forget, this guy cut his teeth on The Man Show, where women were literally props on trampolines. And half the jokes wouldn't last 2 seconds in today's climate. He cashed in on raunch and shock, then flipped the script to become the woke conscience of late night. Now, ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live after his comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and suddenly the left is clutching pearls about free speech and censorship. The very crowd that shouted, "Consequences aren't cancel culture," is crying foul now that the spotlight's on their guy. Tonight, we're diving into what this means for media, hypocrisy, and the future of political comedy. Let's bring in the crew. Brian's here, polishing that MAGA hat like it's about to get sworn into office. Rachel's in the chair, ready to cut through the noise with her independent fire. Daniel's at the mic, and I swear his conspiracy board has so many pins it looks like the CIA is already tracking him. And Skylar's with us too, our progressive voice who thinks free speech should protect comedians even when the jokes bomb harder than Biden's approval rating. And me? I'm Artie, your host, 32 years of conservative grit. Let me say this right off the bat. I believe in free speech. People can say the ugliest, most hateful things, and I'd still fight for their right to say them. But here's the catch. Speech has consequences. Kimmel's finding that out the hard way. The same system he used to laugh at when it crushed conservatives has finally turned around and knocked him on his backside. That's not censorship. That's accountability. Tonight's episode is fueled by the gear and stories that keep data and dissonance alive. First off, if you haven't jumped into my Caleb Rourke thriller series, you're missing out. Book 1, The Covenant Protocol, Lit the Fuse. Book 2, The Prophet Directive, Raise the Stakes. And Book 3, Black Echo Rising, is coming this December. They're sharp, patriotic thrillers that read like today's headlines with tomorrow's conspiracies baked in. You can grab them right now on Amazon. But that's not all. We've got the merch that backs the mission. Our coffee line is roasted in the USA, 3 blends strong: High Lakes Light Roast, Rock Creek Medium, and Bitterroot French Roast for the hardcore caffeine warriors. Pair it with a Data and Dissonance mug or a 20-ounce tumbler so you can take the fight with you on the road. And if you want to wear your beliefs, check out the apparel lineup. Gen X shirts, hoodies, trucker hats, socks, even tote bags. All designed for the ones who speak truth and stir thought. Hit up dataanddissonance.printify.me to grab your copy, your roast, and your gear. Every order helps fuel this show, support my family, and keep this movement independent. We don't just talk about pushing back. We live it. All right, let's jump into it. Jimmy Kimmel's been suspended, ABC is scrambling, and suddenly the left is crying about cancel culture after years of telling us, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So here's where we start. Kimmel's comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination, his past on The Man Show, and the bigger question of whether this is accountability or censorship. 3 rounds, 4 voices, and probably a few jokes that would have gotten us canceled if we set them on ABC. Kimmel's been benched by ABC after his comments on Charlie Kirk's murder. Brian, let's start with you. Is this justice, accountability, or cancel culture coming full circle?
Artie, this is accountability finally catching up to a hypocrite. Kimmel made a career mocking Trump supporters, laughing at Christians, and pretending he's morally superior. And now he's suspended because even his network couldn't spin his garbage comments. If Charlie Kirk or Tucker Carlson had joked about a liberal getting killed, they'd have been gone in 24 hours. So no, I'm not shedding tears for Kimmel. This is the left getting a taste of their own medicine.
Brian, I swear you just described karma better than any preacher I've heard lately. But let's keep it moving. Rachel, You usually see the shades of gray in all this. Where do you land?
I'm torn, Artie. On one hand, yeah, what Kimmel said was reckless and cruel, especially when a man just lost his life. On the other, I don't like the government, regulators, or networks flexing their muscles to silence speech. If we're going to call out hypocrisy, then we have to hold both sides to the same standard. I'm all for consequences, but I don't want politicians threatening shows off the air. That's a dangerous precedent.
So, Rachel's waving the caution flag? Brian's ready to hang the mission accomplished banner. Daniel, what's on your corkboard tonight?
Oh, come on, Rachel. Let's be real. Kimmel isn't suspended just because of one offhand remark. This is bigger. They're making him the sacrificial lamb to distract from what's really going on. The FCC flexing, corporate execs covering their own hides, and the establishment tightening its grip on who gets to speak. Kimmel was useful to them when he was attacking conservatives, but the second he became a liability, they tossed him like yesterday's script.
Daniel, you always find the backroom deal in every story. I'm half expecting you to say Kimmel's suspension was plotted at Bohemian Grove. Skylar, you're the voice of the left here. What do you say?
I've got to be honest here, Artie. I don't like this. I can disagree with Kimmel's tone and timing, but suspending him sets a chilling precedent. Comedy and satire are supposed to push boundaries. If networks pull the plug every time a comedian crosses a line, then what's left? Yes, Kimmel can be a hypocrite, but this feels like political payback, not principled accountability. I'd rather beat bad ideas with better arguments, not with a censor's hammer.
All right, good takes. Brian wants accountability. Rachel's worried about precedent. Daniel's got the red string theory. And Skylar's defending satire even when it bombs. Let's go deeper, because the real hypocrisy is staring us in the face. Kimmel's woke persona falls apart when you remember the man show. Beer chugging, women on trampolines, and skits that would get anyone else canceled today. How do we square that history with his current act? Rachel, kick us off.
That's the hypocrisy in plain sight. If cancel culture was consistent, Kimmel would have been run out of Hollywood years ago. But because he turned his career into bashing conservatives, the left gave him a pass. The fact that he gets to stand on a soapbox now after building fame on material way worse than what he condemns is just laughable. The selective outrage is what drives people crazy.
Exactly. Selective outrage. If he did half that skit list today, he'd be trending under #CancelJimmy by breakfast. Brian, you look like you've been waiting to tag in.
Exactly. If a conservative comedian had done the man show, they'd be living in exile right now. But Kimmel, he gets to reinvent himself as the moral compass of Hollywood. The left protects their own. It's not about principles. It's about power. The hypocrisy is so thick you need a chainsaw to cut through it.
Ha! A chainsaw's about right. Daniel, you're grinning. What's cooking?
You're both missing the bigger picture. The Man Show was never really cancelled because it served its purpose at the time. Controlled rebellion. They let guys blow off steam so they wouldn't question the system. Then when it was time to pivot, Kimmel flipped the script and became a tool for the narrative. This isn't about hypocrisy, it's about the way culture is engineered from the top down.
There it is. Daniel's saying the trampolines were just social engineering with beer foam on top. Skylar, are you buying that?
Look, I won't defend the Man Show. It was cringy, sexist, and yeah, if it aired today, it'd get shredded. But people do evolve. I don't think Kimmel's hypocrisy cancels out his right to speak now. The problem is that conservatives only call for consistency when it benefits them, and liberals only enforce accountability when it protects their own. Nobody's consistent. That's the real hypocrisy.
Skylar says everybody's dirty, Daniel says it's engineered, Rachel's pointing at the double standard, and Brian's swinging the chainsaw. Let's land this with the big one: free speech and consequences. Here's where I stand. I believe in free speech. People can say the ugliest things, and I'd still fight for their right to say it. But speech has consequences. So let me throw it to you. Is what happened to Kimmel free speech in action, or the start of something darker? Daniel, you first.
This is the state tightening the noose, Artie. Free speech means nothing if the government and corporations work hand in hand to decide who gets a platform. Today, it's Kimmel. Tomorrow, it's anyone who steps out of line. When regulators and media execs get to pick winners and losers in public discourse, we're in dangerous territory. This isn't just consequences, it's control.
Control versus consequences. Good frame, Daniel. Skylar, you're shaking your head. Jump in.
I'll push back on that. This is consequences. Free speech doesn't mean freedom from criticism or freedom from your boss deciding you embarrassed the brand. Nobody has a constitutional right to a network late-night show. If anything, this is exactly how free speech is supposed to work. People speak, others react, and society decides what's acceptable. It only feels unfair because it's finally happening to someone on the left.
Interesting. So you're saying conservatives should stop popping champagne because this is just the system working? Brian, your turn.
Skylar, come on. This isn't just society deciding. This is politicians leaning on networks, affiliates pulling the plug, and a whole machine working together to punish one guy. I don't like Kimmel, but let's be clear. This isn't the same as a crowd booing a bad joke. This is power being used to shut him down. And while I'm not crying over Kimmel, I don't like the precedent.
So Brian's saying he won't defend Kimmel, but he also won't defend the hammer that swung. Rachel, close us out on this round.
And that's the paradox, Brian. We can't cheer censorship just because it hits someone we don't like. I despise what Kimmel said, but I don't want a world where government pressure decides who speaks. Speech should face consequences. From the public, from viewers, from advertisers, not from regulators threatening licenses. If we're going to defend free speech, we have to defend it across the board.
And that's the knot we're in, isn't it? Free speech doesn't mean free from consequences. But when consequences start looking like coordinated censorship, that's when alarms go off. Kimmel's hypocrisy makes it hard to defend him, but the bigger fight is about what kind of country we're going to be. All right, panel, final thoughts are up next. Let's wrap this one up. We've gone through the fallout, the hypocrisy, and the free speech debate. But now it's time for each of us to lay it out plain. No spin, no cutting each other off. Just where you stand when the mic is yours.
Artie, here's where I land. Jimmy Kimmel built his empire tearing down people like me, mocking conservatives like it was his full-time job, and acting like he was somehow morally superior. Now, the same culture he championed has come back to bite him, and honestly, I don't feel bad. I don't want government censors deciding who gets to talk. That's dangerous. But I do want hypocrites exposed. And that's exactly what's happened here. This isn't just about Kimmel. It's about the left realizing that cancel culture doesn't just burn your enemies. Sometimes it burns you too.
For me, this is a test of consistency. We can't spend years criticizing cancel culture, then cheer when it lands on someone we dislike. Free speech matters most when we defend it for the people we can't stand. I think Kimmel's comments were wrong. They were cruel, and I don't excuse them. But I also don't want to see a system where political pressure decides which comedians stay on air. If we're going to be serious about defending freedom, we can't pick and choose based on who we like. That's the standard I want to hold myself to, even when it's uncomfortable.
You all know my angle. Nothing about this is organic. Kimmel didn't get suspended just because he made one bad joke. This is a power play. The establishment is flexing its muscles, and Kimmel is just the latest pawn on the board. Today, it's a late-night host. Tomorrow, it could be anyone who says something that steps outside the approved script. They use outrage as a cover, but what's really happening is control. And if we don't see that for what it is, we're going to keep falling for the same game over and over again.
My perspective is simple. We can't keep calling every consequence cancel culture. If you say something reckless, especially in the wake of someone's death, people are going to react. Networks are going to react. That's not censorship, that's society making choices. I don't think suspending Kimmel was the right call, but I also don't think he's some kind of martyr. What bothers me is the gloating. Like, the only lesson here is that the left finally got a taste of their own medicine. That doesn't move us forward. If anything, it just proves how broken and inconsistent we all are when it comes to free speech.
Here's where I land on all of this. I believe in free speech with everything I've got. I'll fight for someone's right to say the most vile, offensive garbage, even if it makes my blood boil. Because once you start deciding who gets to speak and who doesn't, it's only a matter of time before that same rulebook is turned against you. But here's the other side of it. Speech has consequences. Jimmy Kimmel is living proof. He spent years laughing at cancel culture when it crushed conservatives. He built a career on a show that would be shredded in today's climate, and then he tried to reinvent himself as the moral conscience of Hollywood. That act worked, until he crossed a line even his own side couldn't ignore. Do I think ABC should have yanked him? Honestly, no. I'd rather see Kimmel exposed for what he is on his own stage every night, with viewers tuning out and advertisers pulling back. But I'm not going to cry for him either. He made this bed, and now he's laying in it. What I will say is this. If we're serious about free speech, we've got to defend it for people we don't like, not just our own tribe. Otherwise, we're no better than the hypocrisy we're pointing at. So take the lesson here. Cancel culture doesn't stop at the party line. It doesn't stop when it feels good. It keeps rolling until everyone's a target. And the only way to stop it is to draw a line. Defend speech across the board. Call out hypocrisy where we see it, and remember that accountability is not the same as censorship. Jimmy Kimmel got caught in his own trap. The question is whether we're smart enough not to fall into it ourselves. Remember to speak truth. Stir thought. That's it for tonight's episode of Data and Dissonance. Big thanks to Brian, Rachel, Daniel, and Skylar for bringing the fire as always. If you want to support the show, hit up our merch store at dataanddissonance.printify.me, grab a bag of our coffee, or pick up a Caleb Rourke thriller on Amazon. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. sharp for the Drive Home show. Until then, stay sharp, stay free, and keep questioning the spin.